Harrah's Rincon Hotel and Casino outside San Diego is the site of the World Series of Poker West Regional Championship. 9 players have their sights on the circuit ring, but only one will take it down. Will it be the always entertaining Dwight Pilgrim, whose crowd-pleasing theatrics belie cunning poker skills?
I've lived my whole life to get to this point. I'm trying to put my best foot forward and put myself in a position to be the winner of this tournament.
Or can young phenom Tim West go wire to wire?
Some people are caught up in the glam and the glitz, and I just want to win poker tournaments and look good doing it.
Find out tonight as the road to the national championship continues. Welcome to the World Series of Poker National Championship presented by AMP Energy. Tonight we're at Harrah's Rincon Hotel and Casino, the third of 4 stops on the circuit. I'm Ali Najad, joined by World Series bracelet winner Antonio Esfandiari. Let's take a look at the top of the leaderboard. Dwight Pilgrim is slowly becoming mainstream. He is always a force. David Peters to Dwight's left. Feels like a hat manufacturer forgot to attach a logo there. 34-year-old Ali Islami, perhaps best known for defeating a computer in heads-up limit hold'em, followed by Tim West, a rising star in the circuit who cut his teeth dominating the online world. West is certainly comfortable in the live environment. He leads this final table with 843,000 in chips, nearly double second-place David Peters. 3 short stacks at the bottom who will need to double up quickly to keep hope alive. Blinds start at 3 and 6,000 with a 1K ante. Antonio, if you're Tim West, how are you approaching this final table?
I'm going to play aggressive. I have the chip stack. I'm going in. I'm going to keep the pressure on the shorter stacks, and I'm going to go for it. I'm certainly not going to sit there and squeeze my way into a 3rd, 4th, or 5th.
7-4 offsuit. Tim's not going to play this hand. Wilkerson laying down an ace. Longtime pro Steve Brecker opting not to play the Queen-6 offsuit. Can't blame him there. Now it's Dana Kellstrom with Jack-7 suited. He makes it 2.5 times the big blind, 15,000 total. That'll get past Dwight Pilgrim's ace-9.
And this is surprising. There is something to be said about the fold. A lot of times a player here who plays as aggressive as Pilgrim would 3-bet here with the ace-9, getting his opponent to fold a lot of hands.
Back over to Ali Islami, no stranger to you. He defends his big blind.
Played many, many hours with Islami. He's a very good player, and he knows where his opponents are most of the time.
Top pair and a gut shot straight draw for Ali. Just the gut shot for Dana. Islami checks.
Great flop for Islami. He's going to check because most of the time when an opponent raises, they're always going to continuation bet. And this is a monster flop for Islami.
Call 20,000.
Betting a call of 20,000 has the pot up to 82. Ace on the turn. Double gut shot straight draws for both players now. Kellstrom cannot win this pot. He can only tie if he were to make one of those 2 straight draws. Ali checked to him a second time, and now Kellstrom has bet 25,000. Islami again calling.
Pretty weak bet on the turn. Islami is never going to fold a pair of queens here.
Board pairs on the river. 3rd check from Ali.
Going for the 3rd barrel here would be strong.
3rd diamond also on the board. Kellstrom betting 40,000. That's a pretty small bet.
He bets half of his remaining stack here. Basically what he's representing is a pair of aces, and he's going for the value bet. The diamond didn't scare him. He bet the flop. He bet the turn. Wow, Islami folds.
One time. Can't win them all if you don't win the first one.
He's getting better than 4-1 on a call.
Show one card. Are you guys nuts? You're too good.
Kellstrom enjoying the moment.
You wasn't full, were you? Full of something.
Just a reminder of what's at the end of the rainbow for everyone at this final table, a $1 million free roll. This group of 9 has qualified, as well as the 18 players from final tables in Atlantic City and Chicago. 100 players in total will qualify across all circuit stops. They'll come to Las Vegas and play for a share of that $1 million prize pool, as well as the highly coveted gold bracelet. Kellstrom taking a break. Over to Dwight Pilgrim with ace-queen suited, second in Card Player Magazine's 2010 Player of the Year race. Made 16 final tables, won 7 events, and earned over $1.18 million. He makes it $22,000 and throws on his stunner shades.
He looks ready for action.
Unsuited version of ace-queen for Miller Dow.
Dow with a little over 90,000 has no play but to ship it all in or fold his cards.
I'm all in.
Fold would obviously be a mistake. We see him do exactly what you mentioned. Ship it all in, 94,000 total.
That's the only play for Dow, and I believe to be the correct play.
It's going to be 94,000.
No one's going to be upset with that move. Bunch of hands hitting the muck before the action gets back around to Dwight Pilgrim.
Ready to make that movie?
Let's go, baby. Whatever.
I call.
Call. You got ace-queen.
Pilgrim makes the call.
Hey, I got two suited cards.
Movie, baby.
Let's go, baby.
These guys will be chopping the pot up 91% of the time.
Come on.
What is it again? Rush Hour 6?
Rush Hour 6, Dwight and Dow.
Double D.
You're going to have to make Rush Hour 4 and 5 first, Dwight.
You thinking on my level.
Exactly. Or not.
2 10s and a 9 on the board.
Jack.
These guys are going to chop it 100% of the time, regardless of the turn card. Board will run out.
Nice hand,
These guys will chop up the blinds and antes.
Rush Hour 6 was a nice touch, too.
Yo, Tim, could you tell him he never has ace king there? Because he don't know.
I can't win with ace king, huh?
Well, a friendly atmosphere for now, but in the back of everyone's mind is that figure you see next to first place. Well over $250,000 to the last man standing. $260,000 less if you finish 9th. Big dollars on the line here in Rincon. You wouldn't know it by Dwight Pilgrim's relaxed demeanor. Why wouldn't he be relaxed, though? He's actually won 3 WSOP circuit events, including the main event here at Harrah's Rincon in 2008, along with a preliminary event in 2009. He's cashed 22 times in circuit events over a 3-year period. Not too shabby, huh?
He gets there.
Apparently doesn't want to get there with ace-queen in this hand, however. Facing a raise from Steve Brecker with ace-7 suited. He's got a reputation for being a tight player.
That's a surprising fold for ace-queen. Tight or not, if someone opens and you have ace-queen, I think you should 3-bet it more often than not.
Perhaps Ali Islami will be the 3-better with pocket 9s in the cutoff, one off the button. But in fact, he'll smooth call. Now over to Tim West in the small blind with 10-9 suited. Could be a tempting opportunity to pull off the squeeze play.
Definitely not a squeeze play against a guy like Brecker, who is known to be more of a solid tight player. Calling here out of position with a 10 high is not one of my favorite plays. Yet again, it's difficult to fold a 10-9 suited.
Here comes the flop, jack high with a couple of clubs, giving Tim West a gut shot straight draw. He checks it over to Brecker, who's made a pair of 7s. Islami's pocket 9 still the best hand.
Brecker has to lead at the pot. He raised pre, he flopped second pair, and he's got runner diamonds.
Steve fires 48,000, about 2/3 of the pot.
Islami here with a pair of 9s. There is an overcard to his pair, but he knows that most players follow through on the flop with a C-bet.
He calls the 48,000.
This is a standard call. You always want to call and see what happens on the turn. He has position on his opponent. His opponent raised pre and bet the flop. He's got to see what he does on the turn.
Tim West isn't going to go 8 fishing for that straight. He lays down. Now the pot is heads up. Case 9 on the turn gives Islami a set of 9s. Brecker checks.
That's what I call a pretty good card on the turn for Islami.
Ooh, and Ali checks behind.
I don't like to check behind. There are too many cards on the river that can slow down the action. However, Islami knows that Brecker doesn't have anything, and if that's what he's thinking, then check behind makes sense, because maybe he'll take another stab at it at the river.
But Steve could always back into something. The 10, obviously not Ali's favorite card, but Steve checking to him a second time, and Ali putting Brecker all in. Steve will make the easy fold with 4 to his straight on the board and 3 overcards to his 7s. And Islami will take down a nice pot.
I might have called if he hadn't tried to look so nervous. I wasn't nervous. I was comfortable.
No, I said if you hadn't tried to look so nervous.
No, Steve, you were never calling.
Is he bluffing? Could be. German shepherds, huh? I don't trust Germans. 2 cards. Could mean anything. Let's raise the stakes, frighten them off. No one to play with! Darn.
So play online at partypoker.com. It's fun, it's easy, it's the world's largest poker room.
All right, okay.
Welcome back to the West Regional Championship. Now, the East and West Coasts have different weather and rap music, but is the poker different?
I think there's a little bit of a difference between East Coast and West Coast style. West Coast players are a little bit on the wild side.
West Coast, there's more aggressive, and they're not afraid to bluff you.
The West Coast a little bit more flashy. You know, you play for like your lifestyle, whatever it's about.
Dwight Pilgrim has quickly become recognized as one of the best tournament players on the East Coast. He's made Atlantic City his home for long stretches of time. Results coming early and often for the rising star. Tim West with 10-9 suited raises it up to 18,000.
Last time the 10-9 suited didn't do so well for him. He called out of position. This time he brings it in for a raise in the second hole, which I like because most people think if you're opening early you have a bigger hand.
114, all in.
2 jacks for Steve Brecker, though, and he's going to move in for a total of 113,000.
Once again, I will get out of your way.
That's not what Tim was hoping to see behind him.
Unless you're going to give me 3, which I would like.
West has to call 95,000 more to win at 152. It's pretty close here.
What if you had three random cards?
Getting a little better than 3-2.
So close. Wow, this is so close.
If West knew his opponent didn't have a pair, this is an insta-call.
Really close.
Would you mind if I called and put a bad beat on you, Steve? I'm not trying to get information on you. If I called and had 2 rags and 1, would you be upset with me?
Don't bother adjusting the volume on your set. Steve isn't saying anything.
No, I'm going to fold. I'm going to fold.
West makes the laydown.
I almost surged it in there. I really did.
I like the laydown. He's got the big stack, preserve his image, keep his chips.
9-8 suited?
Close.
10 jack suited?
It's right in there.
Right in there? I felt like it.
Dwight Pilgrim doing a decent job at playing the guessing game, and despite that small hit, Tim West still very much in control at this final table. Ali Islami has moved into second place. Dylan Wilkerson and Miller Dow both in situation critical. Blinds at 4 and 8,000. Annie at 1K. Roughly 2.9 million in chips spread out across the table. And it looks like Dana Kellstrom isn't interested in any of it. He just laid down 2 sevens.
He likes the Jack 7, but does not like the pair of 7s. That to me was definitely an open for a raise. I would not have folded 2 sevens there.
The fact that he laid it down allows Miller Dow to open the pot. He's all in for his remaining 41,000 with ace-6 offsuit.
Oh. It's because you know I can't call, huh?
No, I got one move, buddy.
Call.
Mucked around to the other short stack at the table, Dylan Wilkerson, who wakes up with 2 jacks and snap calls.
Always a great feeling to wake up with 2 jacks, particularly when you are low on chips.
Not so good a feeling to get called by those 2 jacks with ace-6 offsuit. Miller Dow at risk of elimination here. 10 high flop, not a good one for Miller. Blank on the turn, and now Dow is tugging at one of 3 remaining aces in the deck to double up and stay alive. No dice. Miller Dow is your 9th place finisher. He'll pick up a modest 24,000 and change for his effort. Obviously not what he had in mind.
Well done, though.
Good news is we know the guy's strong enough to carry his cash home. Welcome back to Harrah's Rincon, the site of this year's West Regional Championship. 8-handed action now after the elimination of Miller Dow in 9th place. If we need security for the money presentation, we got a great option now.
Good one, Ali.
Listen, buddy, they can't all be home runs, you know?
Not all, not most.
Pulled it around to Tim West with ace-10 offsuit.
Raised to 18.
He'll dip into that mountain of chips, putting 18,000 out there. Couple of queens for Steve Brecker. Brecker, born in San Diego, now lives in Reno, Nevada. Makes his way around the tournament circuit as a certified pilot in a small business jet that he flies.
All in 155.
All in for 155,000.
He's going to have to place fourth or better to pay for that jet fuel.
137 to call.
Well, the first step is winning this pot. West has folded to Brecker once before in this match in a similar situation.
Ace-10, quite mediocre here. Brecker probably has him beat. West does not like his ace-10, and neither would I.
Steve is so comfortable, too.
137,000 more to call. Too rich for Tim's blood.
Have a 7-8. I know my cards are probably good.
No, I never said that.
But
I
I'm
never
not
said that
suited,
yesterday.
so...
If I was suited, it wouldn't have changed it that much, sir.
Tim West dishing up 18,000 to Brecker. Here's a little food for thought about how he honed his poker game.
I'm Tim West. I am from Los Altos, California. One job that has helped me play poker, my mother owns a catering business. I've been, a delivery guy. I've been the elbow grease guy. And it teaches you discipline, and it teaches you to be very good with people. And if you treat people well, they tend to treat you well and give you honest information. Honest information is good information at the poker table. So being a good hospitality-wise is very crucial for poker.
Well, Tim West was pretty hospitable to Steve Brecker. Perhaps not as hospitable as Steve would have hoped up against the ace-10 with two queens. But he'll take it nonetheless.
Where do you play poker?
Brecker will sit this one out with 9-4.
You're always happy to just take the pot and not risk your opponent catching an ace.
Dana Kjellstrom with napkins. Lays it down over to Dwight Pilgrim. He's got some artwork, and he plops 16,000 into the pot. That's a min raise with the blinds at 4 and 8.
Generally, I don't advocate the min raise in tournaments, but a lot of these young players use it a lot.
What are the pros and cons?
To me, it shows weakness. Again, you can always use it the other way. However, if you min raise, you're letting in the big blind and the small blind in for a lot cheaper.
After having it folded around to him, DJ Blanchard 3-bets to 41,000 with 5 high.
How much you playing?
Started the hand with about 350, 355.
He might have sensed that Pilgrim min raised, therefore didn't have a super strong hand, and is going after it with a 3-bet.
And indeed, his spidey senses were tingling. He ends up stealing with the 5 high.
I like the 3-bet there a lot.
Well, you might have, but Dwight Pilgrim certainly didn't. He's got a suspect look on his face. DJ Blanchard here to play. Welcome back to Harrah's Rincon, just a short drive from San Diego. One person who can probably make that drive faster than anyone is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Prior to the start of this regional championship, he met with fans and signed autographs. Then he sat down with another junior, Phil Hellmuth.
It's my pleasure to be interviewing Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the greatest race car drivers ever. Dale, there's a lot of similarities between, poker and racing. We're both juniors, for example. What similarities do you see?
Poker, from my standpoint, is a thinking man's game. There's a lot of strategy, and it's a chess match between two guys, So I think that there's a lot of that in racing, how you got to kind of, outsmart your opponent.
Is NASCAR driving, race car driving, a sport?
I believe we're a sport because there's sport involved and there's competition. So I certainly believe it is.
How about poker? Is poker a sport?
I think poker is a sport because, again, you have competition and the way the game's played and at the level that it's played and how popular it is, I believe it's a sport.
Dale Jr., one of the premier NASCAR drivers, and from what I understand, a pretty good poker player as well. We'll have more of that interview in the next hour. Let's get a look at the chip count now. Tim West pacing the field while Islami and Peters sit in second and third, respectively. Miller Dow in the permanent pit stop of 9th place. Blinds at 5 and 10,000. Ante still steady at 1K. Mucked around to Dylan Wilkerson. His turn with Queen Jack. And he opts for a little different course of action, laying it down.
That's okay in my book. If he plays a hand, he's basically committing his whole stack, and Queen Jack is not exactly the hand you want to get your money in with.
10-8 will work for Dwight Pilgrim on the button. He opens for a raise to 21,000, roughly a min raise yet again.
Like I said, a lot of these young new players on the circuit, they love to min raise.
Good for you. Because I know you're really good at reading cards. I'm just going to give you a dark call. Because if I don't know what I have, how could you possibly know? Read that.
That sounds.
I could talk.
Sounds like a good plan.
We can chat. You're not going to get a tell. There aren't any tells.
He knows what you have.
I'll check it.
So when are you going to look?
I can't give you all that information now. I promise you, though, at some point in this hand, I will look like I am looking. Now, whether I actually looked or not is debatable.
East Coast meet West Coast.
All right, I'll see if you look on the turn.
Pilgrim checking his straight draw in position.
That's not a good card for me, man. Gave me so many less possibilities. I guess I'm going to have to check again.
Check that. You wouldn't just tell me you didn't look and really look.
But he told you he might look during the hand. That's what he told you.
And I want to know if he looked already and just telling me he didn't look.
But that's why he prefaced it with saying he was going to look throughout the hand or maybe not look.
Tim has a good analysis there.
Still no betting on the turn. Now an ace hits the river.
Well, that kind of looks like you after you've been checking all this time, huh? Boy. Well, I'm just trying to sort out if I want to look. That's what I'm trying to do. Let's see. So king, now you're going to bet a check. You probably would have bet a weaker hand already. I am going to maybe look. You don't get to know. Wait, hold on. There we go.
Some theatrics going on at the final table here.
King high for Ali.
Check.
Checks it. Now Dwight just can't help himself, can he?
He can't win with a check. He's got to go for it.
He bets 36,000 and Ali makes the quick fold.
Wow, the only thing Pilgrim is representing is an ace in his hand. And the reason why Ali might have believed that is because he checked the flop and checked the turn.
I don't know why. I'm trying to figure out if he looked.
Oh, I just forgot something. That was really
light bulb going off in Aslami's head. And a little change of pace for Dwight Pilgrim, who's usually the one playing the mind games.
I wouldn't say I'm a trash talker. I'm a realist. My strategy is, you got to keep people on an even keel. Sometimes you got to stop them from bluffing. Sometimes you got to keep them from making moves. Sometimes you got to keep them in other situations where their mindset is off a little bit. So what I do is I just try to keep people thinking at all times and keep them guessing. Rush hour 6, Dwight and Dow. Ready to make that movie?
Let's go, baby. Whatever.
I'll call. I believe in positive thinking. If you want something, you have to see it. Most times you got to put it in paper. Before you get to put it on paper, you got to come in your mind and you got to actually see it. I see it in my mind. I've dreamt about it. I'm going to win this.
Guess who's got a copy of The Secret at home on the bookshelf, buddy?
Your best one yet.
Not get any pink.
Visualizing the victory.
True. That's a bad beat right there.
Two ladies for Kellstrom, and yeah, that can be an issue. Kellstrom announcing raise, but before he's got it out there, Pilgrim mucks his hand.
26,000 is raised.
Dana comes up with 26,000. David Peters lays down the ace-9.
Do you think we'll be seeing Peters play a hand today?
If history's any indication, probably not. Over to Dylan Wilkerson with Big Slick. Wilkerson has worked his stack back up a tad after knocking out Miller Dow.
No matter what happens at the end of it, we're going to get all the chips in on both sides, and we're going to flip a coin.
Well, it's a re-raise to 68,000 for now.
68,000. If I double you up, there's not much I can do.
68,000.
Kellstrom's going to put Wilkerson all in. Dylan makes the quick call, and it is a classic race.
One that you hate to be in any tournament you're in. Basically, you're flipping a coin. You don't know if it's heads or tails.
Well, queens have the better end of the coin, and it just got that much better after the flop.
And that's how it always starts.
Turn is the 9 of diamonds.
Swing and a miss for Wilkerson on the turn. He needs an ace or a king to stay alive. Cannot connect. And Dana Kellstrom is going to pick up a healthy pot, while Dylan Wilkerson is going to finish an 8. He'll pick up a little over $30,000. Obviously not much he could have done there. Hand pretty much played itself. Don't worry, Dylan. Even Dale Earnhardt Jr. loses a race now and again. Harrah's Rincon Hotel and Casino is an oasis just north of San Diego. With diverse dining, an impressive gaming floor, and a luxurious pool complex, this is a vacation spot not to be missed. Welcome back to the World Series of Poker National Championship presented by AMP Energy. During the break, we caught up with 8th place finisher Dylan Wilkerson.
I wasn't too happy about it because I was against one of the tighter players at the table, self-admitted. I knew he had a big hand, but I had ace-king, he had queens, classic race, and I lost it. So, feel about as good as you can feel after losing a hand, I guess.
So the action continues, 7-handed. Line still at 5 and 10,000. Ante still at 1,000. Dwight Pilgrim laying down. And this could be it. David Peters' first hand.
He is alive.
Raises to 23,000. Gets a chuckle out of Ali Islami, who's paying attention, no doubt.
It's 23. It's 128.
Queen 10, not exactly what we'd expect Peters to have with his first open raise.
No, but he knows that he has a tight image, and the opponents are not thinking he's playing a lot of hands, so it's okay for him to open with the Queen 10.
Folded around to Brecker, who's got 2 aces.
Oops.
Now, in Brecker's mind, David Peters has a really strong hand here as well, and that might cause him to put in the re-raise, but instead we see him smooth call.
I don't like the smooth call with the aces, especially out of position. There's a lot of ugly flops out there.
6, 7, 9 with a couple of clubs.
That would be one of them.
Both players checking. Now top pair for David Peters. He's also got the gut shot straight draw.
This is actually a great card for Brecker. It gives Peters top pair, which means there's going to be some money going in the pot.
All in.
I call.
Brecker check raising all in. David Peters makes the snap call.
He's in trouble.
And you could see Steve Brecker was concerned. The speed at which David Peters called, it didn't feel like one pair was going to be any good.
Absolutely. His opponent has top pair, gutters, 2-pair draws.
And can't connect on any of them. Steve Brecker is going to pick up a healthy pot from David Peters.
Brecker taking a big gamble playing his aces the way that he did. Put his tournament life at risk, but in the end, it ended up working out for him.
The West Regional Championship is the third of 4 final tables that lead to the National Championship. In Atlantic City, veteran pro Chris Bell finished first, good for over $350,000. And in Chicago, Jim Anderson's aces gave him the Midwest title and over $500,000. Now we're here, of course, in San Diego, where $280,000 hang in the balance for the first place finisher. One big consolation prize for every player who makes a regional championship final table is, of course, a spot in the national championship. Dana Kellstrom laying down King Jack offsuit in the cutoff.
I'm going to do something you've done, okay? I'm going to call without looking at the cards. Just because you've raised me every time, so I'm calling. Just to go ahead and say.
David Peters is now officially awake. He's making blind calls out of the small blind.
Put him in raising. Oh, with the same? Yeah, sure. We'll throw a little 2 chips in. What the hell?
Okay. Taking a page out of Ali Islami's book. Ali punishing the limper.
You could have looked before the in-raise.
Good.
Peters calling the raise and then peeking at 2 9s. Won't be too pleased to look at 2 overcards on the flop. Both players check. Ali's got the best hand with 10s. Now Peters with a modest lead on the turn.
He only bet 10,000 into 47,000 here. You know, why bet 10? Why not just check? You're only going to get called by a better hand.
No change on the river. Peters again goes to the well with 10,000.
Nice.
He makes the easy call.
Oh, God.
10.
And he'll take the pot.
It's funny, when people bet weak, they usually are weak. And this was a classic example of weak betting with a weak hand.
David Peters taking a somewhat elementary approach to that pot. He's currently bleeding chips. The West Regional Championship from Harrah's Rincon Hotel and Casino is well underway, and so far, 2 players have made their way to the exit. First, it was Miller Dow with ace-6 against 2 jacks.
It's because you know I can't call, huh?
No, I got one move, buddy.
Call.
Only got one move.
No ace for Dow as Wilkerson's jacks held up. Dylan's good fortune was short-lived, however, as his ace-king couldn't outdraw Dana Kellstrom's queens. And with Dow and Wilkerson gone, the chip count shapes up like this. Tim West in first, where he's been since the start. Islami in good position in second, and then a logjam from third to seventh. A very wide-open final table. No change in the blinds and antes. DJ Blanchard on the button. Kellstrom under the gun. He'll fold the 10 deuce.
Doyle would have played that.
The old Texas Dolly. Pilgrim makes it 25,000 with 9-6 suited, and Peters calls with King 10 suited.
This is okay. He's got position on Pilgrim. See a flop. See what happens.
What about Dwight's open?
Dwight's open, I don't mind. You know, you're trying to win the antes and the blinds, so in this particular situation, you want to open a lot of hands and try and pick up what's out there, especially when your opponents are playing tight.
Got to be mindful not to open too many pots, though. Somebody will play back at you at some point. Here we've got a heads-up situation, and Dwight Pilgrim flops the nuts.
The absolute nutter butters.
Swing and a miss for Peters, though. Pilgrim tries to trap. No action. 4 to a straight hit the turn. Pilgrim still looking to get some money out of Peters. Both players check. Now queen on the river.
80. 80,000.
Pilgrim finally bets his hand. Bit of an overbet there. 80 into a pot of 72. Easy fold for Peters. And mark this one down for Dwight Pilgrim.
Open with the 9-6, flop the nuts, and there really wasn't much he could do to get money out of his opponent.
David Peters never really connecting with that board.
You, how's it go? If you can't beat them standing up, you take them to the floor.
That's a whole different zone. That's three-handed. That's a whole different type of excitement, three-handed.
Button now on Tim West. Pilgrim will be first to act. Let's see if he keeps the throttle on. 10 deuce. He'll hit the brakes. Would Doyle have played that?
I don't think anybody's playing Doyle at this table.
Ace deuce for DJ Blanchard.
Looking calm and collected.
But also interested in what's shaping up behind him before deciding to raise in the cutoff. 23,000 is the number.
Should you start the hand?
King Queen suited for Tim West.
3-3, 3-30 or so?
Yeah, 3-30.
He's thinking whether or not he's going to 3-bet or just flat here.
I'm all in.
Or how about ship it?
Why risk half your stack when you have everybody covered? Why not just make it 60,000 or 70,000 and see what happens? The small blind or the big blind could easily wake up with a hand, and even the guy that opened for a raise has over 300,000. I don't like this play one bit.
Well, West gets away with one there, as nobody's got enough to call with. Steve Brecker did have ace-jack.
He did. He thought about it, but he was never going to call.
Range was just too big.
No, I had ace-jack.
He lets Tim West
close spot
in on his hand.
Is there any applause for anybody that went? Steve. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Steve got an applause. He has a great rail.
West rally in the crowd.
Steve's friends and family love him. It's a good feeling.
Steve seems like a really gentle, good guy.
David Peters lays down the Jack-4 suited.
If Steve's name was Ben, I would call him Gentle Ben. But Gentle Steve just really doesn't work. Just doesn't roll off the tongue.
23.
Islami getting aggressive.
Slightly, to say the least. There's a lot of hands you can open with, but total air, Queen 3 offsuit is one I try and avoid.
Close to rolling off.
2-10's definitely not a hand to be avoided, and DJ Blanchard's in there. Smooth calling.
I like the flat here. You have a pair of 10s, you have position on your opponent. Why not take it to a flop and see what happens? Position is so powerful.
Action on Dana Kellstrom, but Dwight Pilgrim has decided to call. Out of turn. Not sure what Dana's thinking about with King 5.
Sorry about that.
I think he's...
Pilgrim's got King Deuce suited.
He calls out of the big blind here. He's only got to put 13 more thousand, and he's got 10 out there. Again, you know how I feel about playing, King Deuce out of position. I don't like it.
He has flopped the nut flush draw on the ace-high flop. Islami measuring out a continuation bet.
47.
Looks like it's going to be 47,000.
Blanchard is in a tough spot here. He's got a pair of 10s. His opponent raised pre and bet on the flop when an ace comes. It's close. You can call, you can fold. It just kind of depends on what read you get off your opponent. He decided to give up.
He also had a player behind him in Dwight Pilgrim who simply lays down the nut flush draw.
Now, why do you play the King Deuce of Spades if and when you flop the nut flush draw, you're going to simply fold it?
So is it a mistake?
It's borderline. It's very close, Sully, because he's only got a little over 200,000. He simply cannot call.
Really?
Whether or not he wants to put his whole tournament life at risk with a flush draw is up to him and what read he gets off his opponent.
I like 60% believe you.
Just folded the nut flush draw. Only one person believe me is the camera.
We got your back, Dwight. Nut flush draw right into the muck.
With poker, like a lot of things, not everything can be taught. You read the books, you study the players, but sometimes it's just about instinct. So you play and you practice and practice, and one day you don't think it, you feel it. Practice for free at the world's largest poker site, PokerStars.com, and find the PokerStar in you.
Seven-handed action continues with the blinds up to 6 and 12,000 and the antes doubled to 2,000, which is rough news for Dana Kellstrom and DJ Blanchard, the short stacks. More 10 deuce.
Doyle is everywhere.
A 6 suited for Dwight Pilgrim on the button. He's got his stack back up to 320,000 and he's going to put 24 of it out there. A min raise again.
So I love when they complete like a cash game.
Complete?
Complete the big blind from the small blind. It's only one blind.
I don't think you're using that term right, bud.
In my head, I am.
More psychological warfare between these two. They've been here before. Rainbow flop ace high. Pilgrim's ace is the best hand. Both players check.
Pilgrim disguising his hand.
Ali picks up the nut flush draw on the turn. Pilgrim adds a gut shot straight draw to his aces.
Islami was hoping for another free card.
24,000 is a bet.
Not happening. Small bet at 24,000. Ali calls.
You got me. Caught me red-handed.
And makes the nut flush on the end, which gives Dwight Pilgrim 2 pair, aces up. 4 to a straight also out there, and Islami's going to lead right into Dwight for 65,000.
130.
Raise to 130,000.
This is not a good raise. There's a straight on the board. There's a flush on the board. Even if he has the best hand, there's not many hands I could call him that aren't beating him. This is a dream spot for Islami, obviously, because he just got raised and he's holding the nuts.
All in.
You raise all in.
Man.
Ali putting Dwight all in.
And there's no way Pilgrim can call here.
Dwight's only got 141,000 behind.
Islami is never bluffing here, and Pilgrim's 2-pair is never good here.
Well, he may have botched things up to that point, but Dwight Pilgrim knows better than to torch off his remaining stack in that spot.
Been in there,
He's beating himself over the head for that raise on the river. Not necessary.
Top floor with a 9-7.
I don't particularly like a straight.
I don't think so either.
Body language says it all.
It wasn't the 9-7 straight either.
Time now for the Amp Energy hand of the day. And it's the one we just saw. Things look good for Dwight Pilgrim.
What you got me?
On the turn.
Caught me red-handed.
But the biggest action card in the deck hit the river.
130.
On.
Oh, man.
And it set off a chain of events that would leave Pilgrim as the table's short stack. Can't even really give Pilgrim credit for the fold there. He just shouldn't have ever been in that position.
Definitely not. He raised on the river when he shouldn't have. He just put himself in a bad spot, and now he's kicking himself over the head.
And that's the condition that needs to be met when you're raising on the river. Either you can get a worse hand to call or a better hand to fold. If you can't check one of those boxes, you have no business putting in the raise.
And nowadays, poker has progressed where players love to get full value for their hand. And so a lot of times on the river, they do things they shouldn't have, and it ends up getting them in trouble.
3 players in a limp pot. King, ace, deuce on the board. Pilgrim again with aces. Islami with kings up, however. This could get ugly.
We should see some fireworks here. Islami with 2-pair.
He bets in position. David Peters out of the way after Pilgrim calls the 16,000. And Dwight picks up the nut flush draw on the turn and ships it all in.
Not an easy call for Islami, but he does have 2-pair, and his opponent is fairly short stacked, so I think it's pretty standard.
Yeah. I call.
Oh. What's that? 2-pair?
Ali makes the call, and Pilgrim sees the bad news. He's not drawn dead, however. Any heart other than the king, any ace, 10, or 3, and he'll double up and stay alive.
If I win this if I win this hand, I'm going to drink this Amp Energy drink and get pumped. You hear me? I'm going to get pumped, Tim.
Pilgrim prepping himself for a victory swig. But it's not meant to be, and one of the pre-tournament favorites is sent home in 7th place. Bit of a collapse there for Dwight Pilgrim. He's going to earn over $38,000, but he certainly had his sights set on more. Also earning a little something is Ali Islami, the beneficiary of that pot and first player to over $1 million in chips. Tim West finally facing some serious competition as he slips into 2nd place, while the rest of the field is still holding out hope for a double-up. 1/3 of our final table has been eliminated.
Are you guys nuts? You're too good.
Let's go, man.
And after some sly gamesmanship,
I'm going to maybe look. You don't get to know.
Strong moves.
Do you mind if I called and put a bad beat on you, Steve?
And close races.
If I win this hand, I'm going to drink this Amp Energy drink and get pumped.
We have a new chip leader. 5 more will bust out before we learn how the West was won. For Antonio Esfandiari, I'm Ali Najad. We'll see you next time from Harrah's Rincon.